The motivation lie that you've been sold in poker. I'm gonna explain in this video why motivation is a massive lie and why it's dangerous and it's total garbage. And then I'm gonna tell you exactly what to replace motivation with if you wanna succeed as a poker player. The first thing you wanna notice is that motivation is just a feeling. Feelings are uncontrollable things. So if you feel motivated today, you might not feel motivated tomorrow. Then you might feel motivated next week. Then you might not be motivated the week after that. It's very unreliable. You cannot predict which days you're gonna be motivated and which days you're not gonna be motivated. And if you're like me, I have seasons in poker. Some months go by and I feel extremely motivated. And then other months go by and I'm just kind of down in the dumps. Like I'm just kind of like forcing myself to play poker. And I'm just like, do I even feel like doing this? Do I even want to do this? If you can relate to this at all, drop a like on the video, leave a comment. It's so easy to kind of have these cycles in poker, you know, and I've talked about this time and time again, that I've always had prolonged cycles in poker where sometimes I'm just like enthused and motivated and I love the game. And then other times I'm just like, just whatever, you know, like I'm just like, okay, I'm playing, but like, I'm not really into it. I don't really feel like playing. You know, I go through seasons like that as well. And it's very cyclical for me. And I can't really point to a certain something that turns it on or off. Let's say, for example, I've had like a great run. It doesn't necessarily equate to me feeling motivated for a long time, although there might be some little bits of correlation with that. But then sometimes I have a great run and I'm in a season where I'm unmotivated, then I'm just like, it feels good, but it doesn't feel as good as I thought it might feel. So I've worked with a lot of people that have had this issue throughout my coachings and just running Team 651. This is a very, very common thing that comes up. So if you're watching this video and you're like, I can relate to this reliance on motivation, then trust me, you're not alone. This is something that basically every poker player deals with. What I realize is that these people have this strong reliance on motivation and it holds them back from reaching their full potential. What happens is they're reliant on this motivation to play volume in poker. And when that motivation isn't there, they tend to take a lot of days off.
No days off, bro.
And a lot of weeks off. And then a lot of times in coachings, they'll ask, you know, what's going on? Like, why don't I feel motivated? And it's the wrong question, guys. Okay, it's the wrong question. I'm gonna explain why that is in a minute here. But that's the wrong question to ask, is why you don't feel motivated. It's natural for you not to feel motivated. You can't always feel motivated. Like we talked about before, motivation is a feeling. It's gonna come, it's gonna go, it's gonna do whatever it wants to do, and you cannot control it. You don't have direct control over your motivation. There is something, however, that you do have direct control over. Before we get into that, let's do a recap of what we've taken away so far. Motivation is total garbage. It's a lie. It's dangerous because if you're relying on motivation, you are going to study less than you want to, and you're going to play a lot less poker than you probably want to in order to succeed. Now, let's talk about what you can do instead and what works and what I know for sure works because of observing other poker players that are very successful that have these traits in common. The big secret is very simple.
I'm gonna show you how great I am.
Building strong habits and discipline. These are the two things that will move you so far ahead in poker that you wouldn't even dream imaginable.
Yes.
The 5 of diamonds.
That's the kind of success you can have with these two things. It's those little promises that you keep to yourself. The first thing is understanding the importance of keeping the promises you make to yourself. So what I mean by that is, let's say, for example, in the beginning of the week, you're like, I'm gonna play 30 hours this week. But then you don't feel motivated and you don't do it. Let's say you only play like 15 hours, 17 hours, whatever, because your motivation was kind of wishy-washy and you're just like, I just didn't feel like it, so I didn't play. This is a deeper thing because this kind of behavior is going to hurt your self-esteem, guys. Your self-esteem is going to take a big hit when you behave this way. Why? Because you've just said something to yourself and then you haven't done it. So how can you trust yourself if you told yourself, I'm going to do this, and then you didn't do it? how can you trust yourself? Picture you have a friend and he tells you, I'm gonna play poker for 30 hours. And you say, okay, that's great. And then every single time he tells you this, he doesn't do it. He only plays for like 15 hours, 12 hours, maybe even like 5 hours on some weeks. Can you trust this guy the next time he tells you that he's gonna do a certain something?
I promise.
It's a yes or no question. You're probably gonna be like, well, no, because he didn't do what he said he was gonna do the last time. And this is how we are with ourselves. If you continuously tell yourself something, let's say you're gonna study for X amount of hours, you're gonna play X amount of hours, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and then you don't do it, you're gonna begin to not trust yourself. This is gonna become a self-esteem issue. So you wanna have pride in the promises that you make to yourself. So if you tell yourself you're gonna play 30 hours, whether you feel like it or not, you play those 30 hours because that's gonna help your self-esteem, it's gonna build your confidence, you're gonna succeed better, you're gonna build the discipline that's needed to play this game at the highest level and make as much money as humanly possible. Okay, all of those things are so important. Another thing you can do to build those strong habits and that self-discipline is give yourself rewards when you do the things you said you were going to do. When you keep those promises you make to yourself, give yourself a reward. Now the promise could be daily, it could be weekly, it's totally up to you. Maybe your promise is, I'm gonna play 6 hours today. Okay, perfect. When you put in the 6 hours, give yourself a little cookie at the end of it. Give yourself, when I say cookie, I mean, anything. Like give yourself the pleasure of watching your favorite TV show that night. Take a nice warm bath, watching your favorite sports team play. Something like that. And then when you have like really strong discipline, then if you don't play the 6 hours, then you kind of deprive yourself of that thing. Okay, so let's say it was that sports game that you wanted to watch. Let's say it's that warm bath you wanted to take. Let's say it's that favorite TV show that you wanted to binge watch that night. If you don't put in the hours and you don't put in the study that you said you were going to do, then you deprive yourself of that thing. So you basically you're training your mind to become disciplined, to build strong habits, and to do things whether you feel like it or not. And if your ultimate goal is to succeed at poker, to reach your highest potential, to be the best player possible, then this is what you must do, guys. I tell you this from experience. This is how it's done. I've watched people over the years struggle with motivation, relying on motivation. I just don't feel like playing. I can do something else, this and that. That kind of behavior is never going to get you to the top. There is something to be said about life EV and things like that. So some of you might watch this video, you might argue like, hey Jack, this doesn't have to be so militant. I don't need these strong habits. I don't need the self-discipline. That's totally fine as long as you are accepting of not reaching your full potential in poker and less results, less success with poker. If you're accepting of that and you're like, I'm totally fine with that, and I don't want to go crazy and do all this thing, and I actually do just want to play poker just when I feel like it, then that's totally fine, guys. That's a decision that you've made. But I find that a lot of people, they want to reach their full potential. They want to be as good as they can with poker, but then they're like, why don't I feel it? Why don't I feel that motivation to go and do it? That's what we're talking about in this video. You don't need that motivation. You need to build strong habits and self-discipline if that's the route you want to take. Come and tell me. Come to my coachings and be like, Jack, this is the route I want to take. Let's work with me. Work with me specifically. Help me do this.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
If you're on Team 651, you have that luxury. You can do that. You can take a personal session with me and say, this is my thought process. This is my mindset. Tell me what's going wrong. Tell me what I can fix to reach my absolute maximum full potential. And I will sit there and I will tell you exactly what you need to hear. Maybe sometimes not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear in order to, reach your full potential. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. Like the video, leave us a comment if you want, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.